Hey friends, Camille Ford at Camille'sYumBites.com. I am a certified craft baker, home baker, which basically means in the state of Colorado, I can sell my scones, which I'm going to show you how to make. I am on baking day, I am making 3 dozen large scones and what I call mini bites, which are smaller scones in 4 different flavors: chocolate chip, cinnamon chip, lemon drop, and blueberry lemon. I'm going to make the blueberry lemon ones now. And I have prepped the night before, and you can do it right before. You don't have to do it any time in advance. The liquid mixture, I'm making a double batch, obviously, because I'm making a large amount of scones for a wedding party. So the liquid is, for a double batch, is 1 cup of whole milk and 1 cup of yogurt. And I use the whole milk yogurt. You can use sour cream. And I have shredded the butter in a Cuisinart. And when we get to that part, you'll see what that looks like. So for the dry ingredients, you're gonna need flour, salt, baking soda, baking powder. I think that's it. And sugar, of course. It's better with sugar and better with butter. So my scones are super moist. They don't taste like a brick. So I've really turned the scone on its head, at least in the state of Colorado. So I've got a pretty big bowl here. I like this plastic bowl. I've got my flour, and we are just going to, again, for a double batch, 4 cups of flour. 2 if you're just making a single. A single batch is 8 large scones, and obviously double that for the minis. 2. Started my business as a side gig last October, and I started with first researching, how do you sell your scones? I mean, I knew I wanted to make scones. I was making them for my dad before he passed away, and he just loved them. And so, okay, that's 4 cups of that. And then for the sugar, I still need to look. Sorry about that. 1 cup of sugar. I was making them for my dad, and then when he passed, I didn't have anybody to make these for, but I knew he liked them, and other folks had liked them. And so I got my certification, which is an online class I took through the state of Colorado, USDA, and took a test, passed it, and here we are. All right, I still have to use a recipe. The recipe I use is a modified version from the test kitchen, their scone recipe. All right, for salt, you need 1 teaspoon of salt. You need 4 teaspoons of baking powder. Again, 2 if you're only making 1 batch. And then baking soda, you just need a half a teaspoon. There you go. Okay, got all that in there. I am gonna mix that up. And because the first batch here is the blueberry lemon, I am going to add some lemon peel here. Before I do the lemon peel, and usually what I do at the beginning before I start baking is I preheat my oven. It's 425. And you want to put the rack in the middle. And okay, back to the lemon. All right, this is a very large lemon. Normally, if it's a smaller lemon, I use the whole thing. I use a microplaner. This thing is very sharp, so just be careful. and I put it straight in here. And I'm gonna do about half this lemon. It calls for two teaspoons of lemon zest. So I kind of eyeball it. Gives a really good, obviously, a hint of lemon flavor with the blueberry. There we go. You can see all that. All right, while the oven's preheating, the other thing I do, and I did this yesterday, and it's in another video. When you're using a Cuisinart, at least the one mine, and you they'll typically place some butter that's left on the top of that Cuisinart. I just put the extra butter because you want butter to put on top of the scones. So while it's preheating, I put this in the oven so that it reminds me when the preheat's done to actually take this thing out, because I have forgotten many times that I put this in here. So I just put it right on the edge, let it melt, and you'll use it for later. Okay, again, I'm gonna mix in lemon, and now I'm ready to put in the butter. Okay. So in my other video, I shared with you, I use a Cuisinart grater. You can use a box grater, hand grater. It's very hard to grate frozen butter, but it's frozen. The reason it's frozen is so it's easier to work with. You can get a lot of real estate, and you'll see it when I do this part. And I put it in a freezer bag from the grocery store. So I just dump it in here, make sure all that's out. And then you can see it's all kind of shredded and broken up and easier to work with, and you just want to mix it in with your hands here. Make sure it's all that flour mixture is, and sometimes there's going to be chunks here and you just want to go in and break those up with your hands. Otherwise, you're gonna have a big chunk of butter in your dough when you roll it out. So we get that done. All right. See, it's all nice and mixed up. Mostly I'm spending my time getting rid of these chunks. Here. All right. Okay, now you're ready to add your liquid mixture. Again, I made this yesterday. This is 1 cup of whole milk yogurt, 1 cup of whole milk. Again, you guys can try stuff out. Let's just say you have 2%. Give it a go. They asked for whole milk, so I put it in. Same with the yogurt, you can use sour cream. I use whole milk yogurt. You might be able to use 5% or whatever other kind they have. So you want to pour this in, and then you want to mix it, not over mix it, but enough to where all of the dry is mixed with the liquid. So we pour that in like that. I just used an old bowl jar, but you can use a bowl. Doesn't have to be covered. Got my spatula, and I go around, kind of fold it in. Every time I think of folding in, I think of that Schitt's Creek episode. I don't know if you saw it. Maura, and I forgot her son's name, were trying to make some recipe, and they didn't know what folding was. Anyway, yeah, just get that mixed up. I don't know the chemistry behind cooking. I wish I did. I'm sure I need to watch more Alton Brown. Anyhow, I don't know what happens if you overmix. Like, I haven't done it. It's just, so if you guys know, just let me know. It's not going to be 100% like all the dry is going to be gone, and it's going to be fine because it's interesting as you knead it, the butter softens and starts to melt a little bit, so it'll help bring some cohesion to the dough. All right, I think that's good enough. Now you want to get some flour on your surface. I am pretty liberal with it because you're gonna see that this will be a little bit sticky once you get working with it. So I clean that out. With the spatula. All right, let's get you situated here. All right, we've got a mound of dough here. I take also some dough here, or sorry, not dough, flour. Put that on top. And you want to knead this around 6 to 8 times. Again, it's not a science, at least in my mind, because I don't know what the science is, but it says to, I say the recipe, to knead and then make it like a rough ball. So if you need more, if you find your hands are getting sticky and you're having a hard time with the manipulating the dough, then just add more flour. I've never had too much flour added so far, so again, I don't know what happened. Obviously, we dry, but you can, I don't know. You can't see this, but you can feel that the butter is helping to create some kind of moisture here. All right, it is in a rough, what they call a rough ball. I've got, now because this is a double batch, I'm gonna cut this in half. I've tried to do it as one big batch. I got myself one of these. This thing is awesome. So, and you'll see for a number of things, getting the dough off the counter, for cutting into scone sizes. All right, I put one to the side. I get this guy back into another ball. And what you're gonna wanna do is to roll out a 12 by 12 square. I'm gonna put a little bit more because it's kind of sticky. I don't want it sticking to my rolling pin. I love this rolling pin. I've had every kind of rolling pin, and this one just really seems to work the best for me. Okay, roll it out. You can just see the butter pieces in here. They're all evenly, somewhat distributed. You can see the little lemon rind. All right. Oh, there's my oven. So that means to take out my butter that's been melting. So this is about a 12 by 12. On this first part, you don't have to get completely accurate on your 12 by 12 because what you're gonna do is you're gonna create and this is where I use this scraper thing, an envelope like that. And then another envelope like this. And flip it over like that and like that. Okay, and you want to get a small plate, put a little flour on it, and then you want to put this guy on the plate and in the freezer for 5 minutes. All right, so get this little area cleaned up and do my second ball. Okay, I've taken my dough out of the freezer. It's nice and firm. I've floured my surface. And then again, you're going to roll out another 12 by 12 square. You can just see all the butter pieces in here. You kind of want to get pretty accurate on this part because this is when you put your, shortly we're going to put our blueberries on here, and having a pretty even surface is going to be helpful. Okay, so now you want to get your frozen blueberries. I have, again, you can use fresh blueberries and freeze them yourself, or I got these in the freezer section at Sprouts. I will use 1.5 cups of blueberries. One, and here's the half. Okay, this part, you want to evenly distribute these guys, especially around the edges. Otherwise, and you'll see when you roll it together, if you don't have enough on the edges, you're just going to have a scone with no blueberries, or very few blueberries. So I try to get these out to the edges as much as possible. Sometimes I eyeball the blueberries in terms of just more versus less, but I found if you have too much, it's too liquidy. And then what I do is I take my rolling pin and I kind of lightly get these guys embedded in the dough, just so it makes it easier. All right, now, this is when I use this thing if I need it. If it's sticky, I start rolling this. Just roll it. Sometimes these guys fall out, so I try to get the ends. I'm just gonna roll this. See, it's kind of going to part here a little bit. It's okay. Just use your scraper and get it going. All right. Seam side down, which basically means it's your last roll here. And then pull this forward. And then when you're going to hold the edge and start to flatten, and you want a 4-inch wide rectangle, long rectangle, I guess. So, looks about right. And it's okay if some of these are poking through. Sometimes if I notice I have too much dough without blueberries, I'll cut a little end off like this. See, there's not that many there, and I'll just press it on the top. It's not necessary, but I do like to get dough coverage here. Okay, I'm making a large batch, not the minis right now. So I'm doing one, let's see, 19, 18, 9 of each. Okay, now we're on the kind of cutting part. I take mine and I just do a triangle, and I'm trying to get 8 out of these, 8 to 9. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. All right, I got 8. Good enough. I've prepped my cookie sheet. I use parchment paper. I tried silicone once. It just never really worked for me in terms of baking. So I've since only using parchment paper. And I get these folks on there. Okay, my melted butter is here. See, from when I melted it and grated it before. And I take my silicone. You can use one of those other pastry paintbrushes that's not silicone. They both work fine. Just get these guys painted. I don't like to use too much, because if you get it too much on the like dripping into the paper, it'll just, the butter burns. So got that, and then I have my sugar, and I just sprinkle. And you can be as light or heavy in your pour as you want. Okay, we're ready. These will get bigger in the oven, but not enough to mess you up. So this is about the, spread. You can get obviously 8 on a sheet, and we're gonna pop these in for, I'm gonna do 18 minutes. I like them brown, but I'll show you when they get done how I like them.